Okay, guys, so it's been 24 hours or so since I gave you guys the recap from last week, but that's last week. It's time to move forward. So here we're going to move into week 10 here, and we're going to kick it off with Bend the Knee versus Gurley's Gone Wild. Big matchup, number one versus number two in the league right now. Joe's got some strong matchups this week. Julio Jones may finally start to perform versus Dallas if he remembers how to catch a football. Todd Gurley is a tough matchup against Houston, but I don't expect it to matter just as how the Rams are utilizing Gurley in the passing game. Forte, McCown in the Jets D. Boy, that is a lot of eggs in the Jets basket, Joe. Are you sure that's the route you want to go? I mean, live by the Jet, die by the Jet, I guess. On my side of it, Tom Brady to Gronk, they should have a field day versus Denver. And I can't wait to finally see those guys playing for my team. It's the first time I've had both of them on my roster. Might be the first time I've ever had Tom Brady. I can't remember ever having Brady, but I'm a full-out Tom Brady fan at this point. A.J. Green, Leonard Fournette, Le'Veon Bell, and Christian McCaffrey all have super easy matchups. They should all do very, very well and outperform expectation this week. My bold prediction for this matchup, though, is that the mighty Bears defense lead all fantasy defenses in scoring this week. They have an easy matchup with the Green Bay Packers, who are awful at football. I'm going to say that the Bears defense goes for 20-plus fantasy points en route to leading myself to a much-needed victory after 3 straight losses. I say I'm going to take down the W over Joe. So my prediction, bend the knee. Pack Attack versus Crabtree. So Big Ben has proven time and time again he is not a viable fantasy option this season. Even against the Colts, he's not a viable option. Expect the Steelers to ride Le'Veon Bell. Ben's not going to have to do much. I think maybe 190, 200 yards, maybe 1 touchdown for Ben is probably what you're looking at. Brandon Cooks has a nightmare matchup for several reasons. One is actually that Chris Hogan is out. So Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, one of these guys is going to be on Cooks all the time. And then number 2 being that the Broncos can't cover tight ends or running backs. And, of course, the Patriots throw to their running backs a ton, and their number 1 weapon is Rob Gronkowski. So look for Gronk and James White and even Dion Lewis to get involved early and often. Who would have thought 2 Rams wideouts here starting, Watkins and Woods, and I don't even hate it. That's how crazy this season has gone. I think that it's not a bad idea the way the Rams offense has been going. Not crazy. On to the other side of the ball, I love Carlos Hyde this week. I think my bold prediction is Carlos Hyde's going to have his best game of the season so far. I'm going to give him about 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's right, 2 touchdowns against the pitiful New York Giants, who are just terrible in every facet of football. Sorry, Mancusi, it's not personal. They just suck, and there's no other way around it. Look, Karen is agreeing with me right now. They're terrible. They're just bad at football. So Drew Brees is now Alex Smith. That's what it is now. Drew Brees is playing a ball control offense, just trying not to turn the ball over. He's not taking his shots deep. And while that's been great for the Saints' real life, for fantasy purposes, it sucks. T.Y. Hilton, is it going to be boom or is it going to be bust this week? I expect the Steelers to put some points up with Le'Veon early, so T.Y. might get involved a little bit, and he could have another big week. So that being said, winner of this one is going to be Pack Attack. I think Reese is in for a bit of trouble this week. So there you go, Pack Attack with the W. Cheesehead versus Brooklyn Brawler. So Tony versus Jared, and boy, is this a putrid matchup. Absolutely putrid. The 5 starting wideouts in this matchup is a disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace. Kelvin Benjamin, Dez Bryant, Jordy Nelson, Devontae Parker, Mohamed Sanu. I mean, I hate to, I mean, I even think that Mohamed Sanu is the best out of all them. That's how bad this matchup is. Nobody trades Brady and Gronk and gets better. So for future reference, people, if you have Brady and Gronk, don't trade them unless it's for a king's ransom. You need to shop Travis Kelce this week if you want any chance of winning, Jared. That's all there is to it. You just have to. Trade deadline is Saturday. Reminder to everybody. You need to have your trade in by 11 o'clock on Saturday. If it's not in by 11, it's not getting done. The Stafford should light up Cleveland. The rest of your team, as per usual, Jared, is an absolute disaster. I avoid all your players in DFS and in any scenario possible for fantasy. On to Tony's side, Shady McCoy is way over projected against a tough Saints D. I don't think Shady McCoy is going to do all that well. I hate Dez Bryant this week. Hate him. I know what you're thinking. Oh, he's going up against the Falcons. The Falcons aren't that tough. Yeah, but they still have Desmond Trufant, and Desmond Trufant is going to plant himself on Dez, and Dez isn't going to do anything. And by the way, this is assuming Dez even plays because he's questionable, and he might not even play at all. For all the talk about bad trades this year, Russell Wilson for Dez Bryant is easily the worst trade in the league this season. So my bold prediction here is I'm throwing out a bet to anybody in the league. I'm taking an under on a combined score of 130 between these two teams. And if anybody wants to make a bet on that, I will happily accept your cash. So bold prediction, over under, total points between both teams, 130. I'm taking the under. So winner is going to be Cheesehead in one of the lowest scoring games we've seen in a very long time. John versus Steve. So I got a question. How is Matt Ryan still on a roster and not sitting in free agency? Matt Ryan's a disgrace at this point. Antonio Brown, however, is not a disgrace, and he should do very well against Indy. I know I mentioned before I don't expect Ben to do a whole lot. What he does do, he will do to Antonio Brown. So Antonio Brown, probably $120 and a touchdown maybe from Brown. Stephon Diggs, however, will not do well. He's facing Josh Norman and Rashad Breeland, and quite frankly, Diggs is overrated. The guy's had like 4 or 5 good games in his career, and people think of him as some sort of superstar. He's not. Diggs is a guy that you probably should have dropped so that you could have fielded a team last week, or at least traded to somebody else that actually thinks he's good like you do. My bold prediction for this matchup is that AP is going for less than 5 fantasy points. He's coming off of a 37-carry game, short week versus Seattle, 32 years old. It just has dud written all over it. It's a horrible matchup. I'm expecting about 12 carries for about 35 yards. Going to be a real rough go for AP. Zeke, however, will play, and he will destroy the Falcons. There's no other way around that. Zeke's going to crush them. I can't believe – so on to Steve's side. Steve, it's unbelievable, unfathomable to me that you haven't found a way to move Michael Thomas yet. Like I said before, the Saints are running a ball control offense. Thomas is an absolute bust. He's a ceiling of 8 or 9 points. That's what you're going to get out of him. I mean, you should have moved him while he still had some semblance of value. And, you were declining Doug Baldwin for Michael Thomas for weeks. And now you wish you could have Doug Baldwin for Michael Thomas, but you can't because Doug Baldwin is better than Michael Thomas. So Bilal Powell and Marlon Mack is the worst running back situation in the league this week. Yes, even worse than Jared, because Steve is starting 2 backups as starting running backs for him. That is an awful situation to be in. So the winner of this one's going to be John, as Steve is basically rolling over and accepting his role as the GD. Follow the Buzzards versus OJ's Revenge. So I got a little bit for this matchup. I'm going to go into some analysis here. So Cam Newton's going to go ham Monday night versus Miami. He's going to utilize Devin Funchess. He's going to utilize Run CMC. and these guys are going to have big nights. Melvin Gordon should be the only source of offense for the Chargers. They're not going to be able to throw on Jacksonville. They should go to Gordon early and often and just pound it with Melvin Gordon. Evan Ingram's going to be solid versus the Niners. And, I mean, what else could you ask for from a tight end than solid at this point? If you get 7 or 8 or more points out of your fantasy tight end, you got to be pleased with how awful the tight end position has been. This is just a gut feeling. No rhyme or reason behind this. But I just have a gut feeling that the Redskins are going to shred the Vikings defense. I don't know why. I don't know why I feel that. It's just a gut feeling. That's how I feel. On the Mancusi side, Golden Tate is going to be fantastic against the Browns, of course. I love Juju Smith-Schuster, even with Martavis Bryant returning. I do have a bold prediction here for one of your running backs, though, Mancusi. Aaron Jones. It's not Devontae Freeman. You know what? I'm letting that go. You were wrong. You're not big enough to admit that you were wrong, but you were wrong, and we'll move past it. So the bold prediction here is that Aaron Jones gets flattened by the mighty Bears. The Bears hold him to less than 5 fantasy points, because you don't want no part of the Chicago Bears, man. I don't know why people don't realize this yet. Don't mess with the Bears, dude. The Bears are going to crush your fantasy hopes and dreams. And then, of course, the real question is will Devontae Freeman finally have a good game? I don't know. Probably not. The winner is going to be Jason, even though, one final thought, Joe Mixon is the worst running back I've ever seen. That's all there is to that. His buddy and psychotic teammate Vontaze Burfict came out and said that this week that Joe Mixon is better than Le'Veon Bell. I think that he should have been immediately drug tested and locked into an insane asylum because Bell torched the Bengals, and Joe Mixon's averaging 2.9 yards a carry, and it's quite clearly the worst starting running back in football. He looks like Trent Richardson 2.0, and that might be doing Trent Richardson a disservice because he's tearing it up in the Canadian League right now. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Best of luck to everybody except for Joe. Hope you get your ass kicked, and I will see you guys on Tuesday for the recap.